Oof, it's a big one. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I was just in the middle of organising my loft, of all things, on the hottest day of the year probably, which is never a good idea, when this package arrived. And as you can see from the box, it's from a company called Green Stuff World, and it's always an exciting day when a new package of samples arrives on the channel. I've been in contact with Green Stuff World for a while. It's a brand I've been aware of, and I contacted them about reviewing specifically one product. And it looks like they've sent me a bunch of stuff. So first of all, big thank you to them for sending this through. I've got no idea what's inside. So why don't we unbox it together, get a feel for their range and products and see what they've sent. I had a detailed look at their website and they've got so many products. It's kind of insane. So check it out, greenstuffworld.com. All sorts of products from paints to putties to tools. It really is exhaustive. Let's see what we find. Oh wow, okay. All sorts of stuff. So what have we got? We've got some matte surface primer. Always love a bit of primer. There we go, matte surface primer. Acrylic thinner. Okay, what's this? Ah, silicone painting mat. That's a neat idea. Okay, brilliant. Now if you look at the website, it does appear to be focused more on wargaming and landscaping, I would say. But all of their products have broad appeal for military modelers as well. This is an Arctic set, that's amazing. So it's got all sorts of, again, things that feel to me instinctively more geared towards gamers, but which would inevitably have a use in scale modelling. And that's clearly to create an Arctic landscape, a volcanic basing set. So this again, similar thing, it's got some accessories, resin pieces, bunch of paints to make your volcanic scene. That's very good. As you can see, their range is extensive. You've got things like paintbrushes, all branded their own branding. We've got a mega paint set, 48 colours. So they've also got their own fantasy themed paint set. Oh, we've got a modular set for paints. They're 17mm paints that came there. Another modular set, paint rack, and a cutting mat that appears to be foldable or in two pieces and you put it together. So there we go. Nice range of stuff there. So I look forward to reviewing these sets. Alright, so I'll probably review these in a bunch of different formats, some shorts and some longer videos. I think the easiest way is just to whiz through everything. And I'm going to start off in this first part by looking at some of the paint related stuff from their paint range. And then in subsequent videos, I'll be looking at more of the how-to techniques associated with these products and exploring specific sets in more detail. So just quickly kick off with the cutting mat. Explains there all the different 5 layers in its construction, and then what's quite neat is it's foldable, so that's a neat touch. Right, onto the paints. They've sent that set with 48 paints, and in order to organise them they've sent a couple of these modular paint racks. 10 to 15 minutes to assemble, and they hold 60 each. So they're obviously in laser cut MDF. It's quite thick, 3.5mm MDF, so that's well laid out, explains everything which you can see in detail there. And also they're part of a range with several other modular units that you can put in. So I'll just time lapse through the construction, and I think for speed I'll probably use cyanoacrylate or super glue. Let's go. So that took about 10 minutes. Once you got the hang of it, and those can go on your workbench and organise all your paints. So obviously they're designed for the Green Stuff World paints. Let's just see if they work with other ones. Yeah, so that's a MIG. You can go upside down as well. Let's just grab a Vallejo. Yeah. All good, and of course their own brand of paints as well. I'm just going to assemble the other one. I mean, what you can do is just run a little bead along there if you buy more of these, you can join them together in various ways using the connectors. Okay, so those are built. Sometimes it did feel a little bit like you needed 3 hands to assemble them, but I tried a different variety of construction techniques, including wood glues, clamps and so on. And yes, so after a bit of fiddling, these are constructed, and that allows us to have a look at this, which is their starter set with 48 references. So these will of course populate at least one of these racks. They're non-toxic, non-flammable, and they don't have latex. They're all acrylic, and it says they're valid for airbrush and brush. Let's take a look. It does seem that pretty much everyone has a paint range now. I am hard pressed to keep track of all the different paint ranges, including ones that contact me. But let's have a look at these. I'm just going to pick some at random. It does say there's a new cap included, so they've obviously worked on that. So for example, you've got all the fantasy type colours, lots of greens, you've got bestial brown, ultramar blue, you've got some metallics in there. And here it shows that there are more sets as well, basic colours. You can tell by the artwork, largely intended for your fantasy type figures. That's a nice touch. You get a colour chart. That's great. Sticker. Green Stuff World, but it's also a colour wheel. And they all come in these little handy trays, which is great. So I'm going to start organising them all. I'm going to go by colour. Okay, let's time lapse through this. Again, ultramar blue there. Got some inks, wash ink, blush red, some black. Let's keep those there. These look like metallics. Ultramatte varnish, gloss varnish. Let's keep those down there. And we're into our metallics. Tin metal grey, dark bronze, another ink here, sepia. Well, there we go, what a great little set. And here you can see them all organised beautifully in the paint organiser rack. So what I'll probably do is buy more organisers and put all my different paints so they could all go up there. Alright, so obviously that's all decorative. What really matters is how they paint. But what I'd like to do is just see how something comes out of the bottle and use that as our first initial test. So let's get on with that. Now I'm a military modeler as opposed to a war gamer, but we can just try it out on a figure to get an idea. The colours are of course universally useful. Now what you do need to do is just open up the bottles, give them a shake, and this is how they come out. So let's see how they brush. They sent me some brushes, so I may as well use those. These are their brushes. Look really nicely produced. I'm just going to pick this one, which is the number 2 brush. It does say on them they're Kolinsky, which is great, so they should be Kolinsky Sable. Let's just see what the consistency is out of the bottle. What I noticed straight away, because I actually spilt some on my cutting mat here, is the rich pigmentation. So it has a really strong pigmentation. It would need thinning for airbrushing, if you ask me, but that's how it's looking there. Let me just grab some water. Let's see how it brushes. So yeah, they're definitely paints that have really, really rich pigmentation to the point where I'm just going to thin it down just a touch. There we go. So we'll put my custom mix of those 2 references, the brown skin and the blushing flesh. Okay, let's go for the face. It's quite warm today in the workshop, so that could affect things. But yeah, it's certainly got a nice level of coverage. Right, what I'm going to do now, go to a slightly finer brush. Let's go with this one, which is their 00. I'm going to start applying more of a highlight, or let's say at least a mid-tone. Yeah, they're quite nicely mixable and controllable. My instinct is these are the sort of paints that would respond really well to a wet palette approach. So still using this Elven Flesh as my mid-tone. This is just an initial test to see how I get on with them. What I'm going to do now is just blend it a little with a soft brush. What I might do now is add a little bit. I saw a nice looking colour. I don't think nuclear white is what I want. I think something like parchment seems good. Additional ball bearing is definitely helpful in shaking everything up. Start hitting the highlights. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the hands. Might go back and use some of their inks on that. Let's go to the face and try some of these highlights then. I'm just blocking those in. Okay. So what I might do now is mix up a darker shadow. I'm just going to use that to blend. So I want a little bit more colour in the cheeks. So obviously I'm just racing through this. It's not going to be my best figure work, but you're seeing it pretty much in real time with these paints. Alright, so I'm finding the paints are nice and workable on the dry palette, so it's not a wet palette, but they're working just fine. Face starting to come together. I'm not going to worry too much about eyes. I need to do a bit of detail painting. And then we're going with the final highlights, particularly on this side. Okay, I'm just going to do a bit of mid-tone. Okay, I'll just blend that. Okay, so I've decided to add some deeper shadows, so I've got some scorched wood, which is going to be my darkest shadow. And I've also gone for a bit of their inks to try out those Peckerton Flesh. I'm just going to mix up a tiny bit of that to the flesh mix. I'm just going to get a nice pale flesh mix variant of the base coat with a bit more parchment. Final detail painting afterwards. I'm just going to do a little bit of shadow work and then we'll have to call it quits. Alright, I'm going to have to stop there if I'm going to get a video out this week, but you can see I've got on fairly well with these paints. I like them. I like the pigmentation, I like the blendability, they water down well and mix well, they dry nice and matte. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Now if you're interested in seeing more, I can do a tutorial on painting the rest of this figure, but so far, pretty good. Done more work just off camera around the face, just adding detail to the hair, blocking in the eyes, bit more definition around the eyes and around the mouth. I mean, obviously this isn't intended as a tutorial. This is a first run with these paints and I'm pretty happy with them. Yeah, so that's where it is. And I've started on the uniform. You can see I'm using this colour here. What I'll do is I'll use more of these paints on other projects. I'll be putting out more reviews as well, including using these two basing sets. They're diorama sets essentially. But as an initial run, with this paint range, I'm very happy with that. I enjoyed using these paints. They work really well. I can tell they're full of promise. Nice to have the organizer. You'll see that as part of my ongoing plan to organize my workshop, which you'll see these will certainly be useful for that. And in future videos, I'll paint some more using the rest of the green stuff range. I'm sure there's some nice colors there, greens and so on, that I can use. But yeah, just as a quick job, highly workable and usable paints, pretty easy going, pretty forgiving. So I'll leave you with some shots of this little figure and the face and hands parts. I'm still familiarizing myself with these paints, so it'll be interesting to see how the matte varnish mats it down. But yeah, that's enough for now, I think. In this video, I'll be reviewing more products from Green Stuff World soon on the channel in various guises. So far, the initial impressions are good. Thanks for watching and bye.
Subscribe for our latest videos.